Very, very warm welcome to all of our regular viewers, all of our big kids after that kids drive. I'm very happy to have you all here. My name is Patrick. Joining me on camera is Bongay, and we are in at the Maasai Mara Game Reserve of Kenya right now. Any questions or comments throughout this drive, you know what to do. Use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or the YouTube chat stream. Now, I'm sure everybody is very concerned and wondering about last night, so I'm just coming back to the site where it all happened, and then after I've got a nice position, we can have a good chat about it all, because it was quite the experience indeed. It was, still not 24 hours, but almost 24 hours after it. I'm still trying to process everything and just wrap my head around it. It's been a very long, very tricky 24 hours, or almost 24 hours since as well, as there's been a lot of contact, there's been a lot of talk, there's been a lot of debate. And so everyone is just trying their hardest to get their heads around just what happened here last night. So for anyone who didn't watch in, we had a big ruckus between two prides of lions. But as I said, I'll just get a good spot so we can get into discussing the nitty-gritty of it all. I just didn't want to bring it up on the kids' drive because of the sensitive content. So here we are. Nato, it was very sad amongst, all of the other emotions as well. It was quite a sad moment. Also quite an epic moment. It was raw nature. So here we are. This is the aftermath of what has occurred here. We are left with nothing but the dead hippo carcass, and unfortunately, sensitive viewers, please look away now. The cub is still, one of the cubs is still here. So it's a bit eerie being here now. It's very quiet down here at the moment. It's almost like the feeling of, walking into a venue the day after a concert, or walking out onto a battleground the day after a war, or perhaps walking onto the ring the night after a big fight. Everything's quiet and still, but you can really sense the atmosphere that was once here. Now, first and foremost, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who did message me after the drive had wrapped. Did show a moment of vulnerability there, and I was feeling quite embarrassed about it until I saw everyone's input. Thank you so much. Not a message went unnoticed. I definitely read it all, and I just wanted to wait till I could be live in front of screen to tell you all thank you so much. And for those who also had their input into what happened, it was also greatly appreciated and has definitely helped piece together what happened here. So let's get into it. Now, I'm going to be very cautious with how I talk here. I want to let you know that I still don't 100% know exact dynamics of what happened, but given the combination of my own viewing, talking it to other people and collating their information, and also re-watching a lot of the footage and trying to break it down, this is what we can come up with after this. So first off, it seemed like when we pulled up to the sighting, it was the Olololo pride that was there. That seems like the most likely pride it was, especially due to the presence of the three cubs. Now, shortly after this, during the kids' drive, another pride did enter the scene, and it was most likely the river pride. I was saying the marsh pride due to a lot of information I was getting yesterday. I was trying to make sense of it all, and everyone was saying the marsh pride. But after a lot of talking with other people, it seems like it was most likely the river pride that came in. Now, following this, there was the fighting that occurred between the two prides. We are sort of on the territorial boundary between the two prides, and having such a big carcass here has obviously brought them to be here. So there was fighting. Then following the fighting, we got told that there were cubs that had been killed in the conflict. Now, still not certain on who killed the cubs, but it seemed most likely that it was the females of the river pride. So it didn't seem like, from watching the footage, there was actually any males close by that could have actually initiated the kill. So it seems most likely it was the river pride females that killed at least 2 of the Olololo cubs, potentially 3. We did see 3 to start with, but the third one the whole time was unaccounted for. So after this, there seemed to be more fighting as the River Pride was trying to make the Olololo Pride back off, and so there was a number of fights going on after this, and in the end, the only female that was left, we can only assume, was the mother of the cubs. The mother of the 2 cubs that were killed was the only one hanging on the outskirts, and unfortunately for her, she was picked up on by the River Pride, chased away, violently attacked. She actually fell down a bit of a cliff, so we just had a check today to make sure that she wasn't there lying dead, and fortunately she has gotten up and moved away. I'm not sure where to, I'm not sure what condition she is in, but I can only assume that it is a pretty bad condition, unfortunately, which lastly leaves the 2 males that were present. So these are confirmed to be the Kichwa males. I just spent some time with them, if anyone was watching the kids drive, Fang and Halftail, sorry. And so their involvement in this, it didn't seem, well, they obviously didn't commit infanticide. If we watch the footage, they were nowhere near the babies or the cubs when the attack did happen. And it actually seems like they were trying to mediate things. They were involved in a few fights, but it seemed like they were trying to bring the situation down a couple of levels, and in the process just copped a few injuries. But if this was the River Pride and the Olololo Pride, it would make more sense because the Kichwa male does have ties to both of them. So that is what the combined effort of everyone, what seems to be the most likely explanation of what happened yesterday. I do sincerely apologise for getting caught up in everything, getting caught up in the emotion, and also just not really being able to get a good gauge on what was happening. But we got there in the end. Well, we've sort of gotten there in the end. We have started to piece this thing together, and that is everything I know now. So thank you all for watching there, that being there with me through that moment, and of course for the kind messages afterwards. All right, so now that that's out of the way, I think it's time to move on from here. There is nothing really else happening, just a few vultures kicking about. So let's go back down to Trish. Let's go down to Trish in South Africa.
Really difficult thing to watch, and really difficult situation. So I think everybody did what they could, and I'm glad that he felt the way he felt. So good on him. I'm sure that must have affected you viewers quite a lot as well. It must be a traumatizing thing. I often think, oh, what if something happens to Plonk? I'd be very, very, very upset, to say the least. But I did see Corky, speaking of Plonk, moving towards the den earlier. She wasn't very close, but she would be there by now. But I think we'll wait a little bit for it to get a little bit more dark, so we can actually, have some activity at the den and have all the cubs out. So I'd love to see if Plonk is there. I really would. But at the moment, we saw a few tracks, but it looks as if they're old, unfortunately. But I am going to stay around in this area. I'm in the west at the moment, so we're going to stay here and maybe look for some leopards. Now, that leopard track we saw were tiny. They were quite small, but not tiny. They were small. They were probably Tlalamba sized, but not Shidulu cub sized, which is what I was hoping for. Nevertheless, I am in the same area that I could possibly find Shidulu. Remember, I could also find Tlalamba walking around. She's not a territorial leopard yet. She's still kind of roaming. It's a possibility that she would be around here as well, just on the fringes. Sometimes these boundaries can be fluid, especially for a younger leopard. So we can also look out for her there. But I'm going to go round and onto that horrible main road that we all don't like, but is so productive. Yes. So we are going to look there. Well, I'm going to make my way to the Camera Killer Road. And in the meantime, I will send you over to Brother Jimmy.
Well, good day, folks. Good day. It's good afternoon here, but somewhere else where people are watching, it's good morning. So welcome to the Southern African bushveld. Trishana, good luck with your tracks. I'm Jimmy. Behind camera is Davy. And yeah, that was his thumb. And while Trishana is looking for her tracks, we've stopped on a road here, and we want to just show you a track which is a little bit bigger than the leopard track that was seen earlier of Tingala sleeping. So let me just show you a little bit more detail of these tracks that we're going to follow up a bit on. I'm going to get out and show you because it's difficult to distinguish them on the road. So let me try that. Davy, I don't know if you can, are you on this one?
Yep.
So, folks, sorry, these are vehicle tracks. And here, I'm going to circle it so it sort of identifies it. This is a lion track. And how we know this is from particularly the size. So from the front to the back can range from about 9 centimeters to about 12 centimeters, depending on whether it's a male or female. And the width is probably between 9 and 11 centimeters. And the direction of this line, who can guess it's that way, because we can tell from the 4 visual toes. There are no claws visual because they have retractable claws. And the back pad of a cat has got 3 lobes on the back. And this is quite nice light to see tracks in because we're seeing a shadow in it. When the sun's straight above us, you won't get any shadows and it's much more difficult to see. So we're going to follow up a little bit on this. They don't look that fresh, and there might even be a little bit of rain splattered on it, so it could have been early this morning or late last night. So let's see whether we can follow up and have any luck on our tracks. Paula, you say that was a big or good-looking track? Good-looking. Yeah, it's a nice, and it's very visual now with the shadow. So, and it's very clear in this soft sand. It's more pronounced than in clayer soils. So, we're lucky to be able to track in this type of soil in certain areas. We weren't sure. We haven't seen. It doesn't look like a pride because we've only managed to see 1 or 2 tracks. So it's difficult to tell whether it's a pride or whether it could be subadult males milling around. So until we get more detail on the tracks, it's very difficult to say what the configuration of the group is. While we're looking for more tracks, we also Rosalind, question from you: how big is a lion track? A female track goes to about 10 centimeters in length. so roughly the size of a male's, an average male's fist closed, and a big male track can look about 2 centimeters bigger than that. So that's a rough size of a lion track. While we're looking for more tracks, we're also going to be listening out for any signs of alarm calls. While we continue, while we continue following up on some tracks, we're going to send you to Trish and see what she has found.
Well, Jimmy has inspired me, I think. I have found this track. I've come back because when we turned that junction, I wasn't paying enough attention, you see. So I decided to come back to first track, which is basically your number one rule when you're tracking. If you lose a track, come back to your last track, basically, and then start again. So that's what I've decided to do. So this is what I've found. I'm going to give you something for a sense of scale. I suppose you can use my hand. If I do that, it doesn't even cover my full fingers. Just a little less than that. So it's a little leopard. And you can see that it's leopard. You have the toes rounded, unlike the hyena where it's all kind of kidney-shaped, odd-shaped, like puzzle pieces. They fit in together. And you can see the 3 distinct lobes. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now touching it, because I want to get a feel for how fresh it is, the sand is still sort of loose. It's not compacted against the rain. And then I saw some other tracks that had rain on top of it. So I'm a bit confused. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up on it anyway, because I think it would be an absolute delight if I could find Hlalamba. I do think so. So we're going to turn around again. Here's another one here. So they are all along this road. So I am going to follow up on her. So let me just plug in. And then we will turn and follow up on it. Now I also have to turn quite carefully so I don't drive over them. Lily, it is very much like a treasure hunt. I find it sort of like I'm a detective, and then I've got to follow her and figure out if I can smell anything, if I can hear anything different or a bit out of the ordinary. So I do. Makes me feel back like a detective. So it seems like it's a bit clear here. Nancy drew off the bush, that's what Emma says. I love Hercule Poirot, so I'm more for Hercule Poirot off the bush, I think. If he was a female and my age. Emma, don't argue with me. I like Hercule Poirot. She says I don't have a moustache. I can change that. Although then they probably wouldn't let me present anymore, would they? Okay, this has gone too far. I should draw a moustache on, Emma says. I might do that. One day when I do, if I follow a leopard through, I might, in fact, if I have a moustache, maybe it'll inspire me to actually follow up with it. Crystal, you call the hyena track the banana boat track? Is that what I heard? How very creative of you, Crystal. For me, they look like sausages pushed together, almost. Like beanie sausage-looking things. I'm still paying attention for the track. Maybe if I do this, it'll help. It's my moustache, everybody, if you were wondering why I put my finger there. Okay, looks like there's some investigating to do. Let me send you to Pat, my sidekick, in the meantime.
Oh Trishala, bless your cotton socks. Well, if I could donate you my mustache right now, I most definitely would. but unfortunately I am some thousands of kilometres away from where you are. But nevertheless, good luck with your detective work. So I have left the scene now. We did see the River Pride was still there with those two Kichwa males, anyone who was joining in the kids' drive, but unfortunately all of the River Pride had gone quite flat. We just saw the one female that was missing the tip of her tail, which is a lioness that is known to be from the River Tree Pride, and we just saw some heads, some subadult male heads and a couple of lioness heads poking up out of the grass. So apart from that and the two flat Kichwa males, there wasn't a whole heap left going on down there. But I do want to let you know, even though I have moved away from the scene, if you do have any questions or any more comments or anything that you do want to share around last night's sighting, I'm going to be open to it the whole drive. Be willing to let you know the best of what I know and clear up any more confusion, or just let us know your general feelings about it. It was obviously a very, very emotional scene for a lot of people, and so there is a support in number. Gremlin General, well, I am just pretty much in line with the front of our camp right now. So the Mara River is to my northish direction out this side, and the best pinpoint I know from where we are right now is down near Little Governors, where we quite often see those, where we saw those amazing lions the other morning, if anyone remembers there. So probably about 10 kilometres or so about 5 or 6 miles away from where we are, where the Mara River is right now. But I think that's going to be the plan anyway. Gremlins, so it doesn't seem like this was the Marsh Pride yesterday. It seemed to be the River Pride. So there was a lot of confusion surrounding that, but after everybody's input, it seems most likely it was the the River Pride, for a number of reasons. A, as the question dictates, the Marsh Pride come from the other side of the river. Now, they are very, very rarely, some people say never seen, over this side of the Mara River, the side that we are on. So it was unlikely that it was the Marsh Pride. Definitely more likely to be the River Pride, closer to their territory. And as I said, there was that female with the missing tip of the tail, which is actually the one we first saw. Sorry, just getting a face full of dust. It was the one that we saw yesterday, actually closest to the cubs when the initial attack happened. So it does seem to be the River Pride. And the Marsh Pride probably still over the other side of the river, probably having never left the other side of the river. Oh, sorry everyone, I got a bit of dust in my eyes just then. It's a little bit hard to see right now. Okay, onwards we press. So yes, the plan now is to kind of head up towards the river. I want to check in on the Awinos, but I'm limited in my search today. A, because they've had controlled burns up in that area this morning, and so there's still a little bit of smoke and smouldering about. And secondly, there is a high chance we will experience gremlins just because of some tech issues going on up that side. So I can't go too deep into their territory. If we think of their territory being there and the Sausage Tree Pride territory being there, so we could probably just only go a little bit into Owino territory. So I'm gonna keep on driving and try and get all of this dust out of my eyes and send you back down to Detective Trishala.
That is so horrible. I know when you get dust in your eye, it really is something else, especially for me when I have my contacts in and I get dust in it. It's horrible. I'm actually very glad. We are on the main road, so if there were cars in front of us, we would definitely be eating their dust. Now, Pat did send you over to the investigator. Case has gone cold. Trail is cold. I checked both the junctions at that road, and I still found nothing. But then that could also suggest to me that it was actually not as fresh as I thought, because if it was, then the cars wouldn't have been driving all over it where I hadn't driven. So it was probably an old track, and then I just saw some more going right, but of a different leopard, and I think that was Shidulu, because like I've told you, when I come down this road, the main road on the western boundary, that's Shidulu's territory. So when I'm looking, I'm kind of looking to my right here and a little bit to my left. But I found that she hangs out more kind of on this side. So I'm going to think that those tracks that I saw now were hers, and they were just that much bigger than the other ones. The other ones were quite small. I was hoping it was cub tracks too, don't worry. But none. This road has been much better today, just as I say that. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, they like Detective Trish. I like it too. It's like I've been waiting my whole life for someone to call me Detective Trish, and now my dreams come true. I want to be a sleuth, you know, not just like Detective Trish of the South African Police Force. No, I want to be a sleuth, like Hercule. So thank you for making my dream come true. Ooh, we have a grey hornbill in the road who has just decided to fly off. Let's see if we can catch up with him if he perches there. So let me have a look in this tree and see if I can actually... Birds, it's as if they don't even like to be on here. But let me have a good look in this tree, because that's where I saw the birds fly into. In the meantime, let me send you over to Jimmy.
Looks like it.
No, I mean done before.
Oh, no.
We're just going to stop here. There's something quite interesting here on the right of us. Let me try and move for camera there. How's that, Davi?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that good? I've just stopped here. You can see this marula tree, and it's got a very nice patchy grey, light and dark grey bark, and below it you'll see where it's been absolutely stripped. And this is from elephant feeding, normally during early summer, when the rains are starting to come in and there's a lot of moisture in this bark. And also in winter, when there's not a lot of moisture around, they'll strip some of this bark off. And looks like this elephant is totally ring-barked, this marula. So the chances of it surviving are very slight. In fact, if they debarked it too deep, the chances are zero of it surviving. So in a couple of years, that will fall over and decompose and form food for other animals. So yeah, it's just an interesting. You don't often see them completely ring-barked. So yeah, any questions on the feeding of these ellies? Mary, do elephants eat the bark? What they'll do is they'll strip the bark off the tree like this, and they'll eat the inner cambium, and they'll generally not eat the drier part of the bark. So they'll eat the cambium where the moisture and the food of the tree is. The bark is really just a crust or scab that protects the tree from heat and insects, etc. But elephant have a very varied diet, so they'll eat cambium of bark of trees. They'll eat the roots. They'll eat the leaves, small branches, and obviously when fruit's around, they'll eat the fruit of these trees as well. And they have a delicious small yellow fruit, which is very high in vitamin C, and they have just finished about now. So the fruit drops around February, in the end, towards the end or middle of our summer, and so they pretty much finished dropping fruit now. So the fruit is over for the season. Anthony, do these trees completely die from this? Let me turn around so I can still get a view of it. Because this has been totally ring-barked, it's more than likely going to die. Unless there was a small layer of cambium left. We have recorded marula surviving, but I haven't seen it as badly debarked as this. So my bet is that it's not going to survive. Yeah. And they don't only debark marulas out of interest. They will debark, for example, in the background behind that to the right. There's a different tree, which from here it looks like a knobthorn, an old knobthorn, or a black monkey thorn, I'm not sure from here. But you can see how that's also been debarked, but only about half or a third of it's been debarked and it's still living. So if they don't completely ring bark it, their chances of survival are very good. Patrick, speaking of elephants, we're going to pass you to Patrick in the Mara, and apparently he's got some elephants to show you.
Well, here are these landscape editors right here, the big elephants in what appears to be a bit of a herbivore haven, the Herb Haven. Sounds like a tea shop. So, yeah, so we have come across a rather large herd of buffalo, fronted here by some ellies, piecing gracefully, peacefully grazing, not gracefully piecing. They might be gracefully piecing, I don't know. I don't even know if that sentence makes sense. But we, yes, have come across these elephants, and the little young'uns here are looking very dark. That's because they have probably just had a bit of a mud wallow, a bit of a mud bath. And they're saying they look like they're having a tea party. It does. Oh, howdy do. Fancy some tea? I should never try accents. Just never. So, yeah, so they will wallow around in mud or cover themselves in water and dust to help deal with the heat. It is starting to become a little bit overcast now, but it was very hot earlier on. We can see numerous white birds amongst these buffalo as well. And these are known as cattle egrets, related to the other egrets and herons that we find around here. And, well, it's no surprise from their name that they are associated with cattle, or in this case, buffalo. And a lot of people call them tick birds, thinking that they do the same thing as an oxpecker would and take ticks off from the animal. But this is actually not the case. They tend to hang around the feet of the animals, waiting for them to stir up invertebrates, mostly insects, and will actually eat that. And most of the time, if you do see them eating something off the animal, it's probably more likely a insect that has jumped up from out of the grass onto the animal, or a flying insect, rather than a tick. So that is a little bit of a misconception. But regardless, you will pretty much always find them when you see a herd of buffalo. And sometimes if you are locating a large bird of buffalo, I'm not going well today, not a bird of buffalo, herd of buffalo. If you do want to look for one, a good sign can be a lot of cattle egrets flying low. I am losing my speech tonight. Maybe I should do some speech therapy or something. No. All right. So I'm just going to quickly reverse it so we can just have a look. I was saying about the controlled burns that were happening in the area. So I'm just going to show everyone the plumes of smoke coming up from almost sort of near the Owino territory. And while I do that, everyone was wondering about my alley sighting the other night. It was actually right here, just about 100 metres that way, 300 feet that way, where there was just so many young, playful elephants. And they were all at it for hours. It was probably about an hour and a half. It felt like an eternity though. It was one of the most enjoyable nights I've ever had out here. Though I've never seen such a high density of playful elephants in my entire life. It was so cute. And they were all toppling and tumbling on one another. And the best thing was that in the end, no one got hurt. So we can see that there's quite a bit of smoke coming up, which might be a bit of a scary sign, but not to worry, it is all controlled burns. It helps to stimulate growth, also reduces potential fuel load, which is pretty much just the accumulation of energy from dry matter that does sort of build up. And obviously the more this builds up, the more chance of having a really bad blaze can happen. And so by periodically reducing it, it's kind of a bit of damage control, if you can think of it in that way. Well, it affects the animals. Everyone's kind of asking how this will affect the animals. Unfortunately, it can catch up with a few animals. Not heaps. There's not a lot of mortalities, but it will sometimes affect animals. It can actually help birds like eagles, that are birds of prey and hunters, because if they sit on the outside of the smoke, there will be a lot of smaller animals trying to get away from the fire, and therefore a very easy target if they just sit on the outskirts. When I was living up in northern Australia, there was constantly controlled and prescribed burning, and you would just see huge flocks of wedge-tailed eagles coming in and just picking off all of the rodents coming out from the fire. But it will definitely cause a temporary moving away from the area in a lot of animals. Unfortunately,
So sorry about that, guys. You can blame the gremlins. I've had quite a good run without them. I'm quite happy with that. So I've finished the boundary now, and we have decided to go, we have decided to go to Twin Dams and have a look there, but I have decided to do it by going past the hyena den, just in case, because I saw Corky walking towards there, so just in case Plonk is out, I need to be there and I need to see. So I am going to the watering hole via the hyena den, just to have a quick look. I did plan on going there later on, in more of the sort of the evening time, but it's a fine line at the hyena den. Fine line like this road. Huh? There we go. Okay, so I am going to pass there now. If there's any action, I'll let you know. In the meantime, let's go over to Pat, who's fought those gremlins off.
well, we do apologise for the gremlins just there. They actually interrupted quite a cool but also mysterious scene. So one of the buffalo got very spooked. I'm not sure what from. And that caused a bit of a chain reaction. So they were all sprinting, and this caused the elephants to get a bit startled as well. So all of the elephants started sprinting. I've never actually seen an alley move that fast in my life. So I'm not sure what caused it. It obviously, I think it must have just been a startle or perhaps a mistake, because I mean, if it was something close by at least, they would have moved much further. They didn't move a whole heap of distance. It looks like they did because there was so many of them moving in unison. But in reality, the entire group, including the elephants, have only really moved 50 to 100 metres to their left right now. So about 150 to 300 feet. So I'm not sure where we got to with that fire discussion. Paula, how often do they do controlled burns? Well, out here in the Mara Triangle, it's only every couple of years, so I've been told. I don't know this one for sure, but I have been told from people that have been out here quite a while that it is every couple of years that they will do it here in the Mara Triangle. But in the Serengeti, over the other side of where we are in Tanzania, it is done a bit more frequently over that side. I think perhaps even yearly it is done. And yeah, so it is utilised for different reasons in different parts of the world. I was saying the other day on one of my drives, the Aboriginals used to use it much like the eagles to help them with hunting. Ali, fantastic. Yes, I believe in Tanzania it is before the migration that they do the burns, or at least before the rains. Because obviously after the rains, things are going to be growing and being fresh. And so I believe they do it actually before the rains, which actually precedes the migration. But then I've also been told that they also do it after the rains. So yeah, again, just going off information from locals in the area. But that does seem to be roughly the frequency between the Mara Triangle and Tanzania. A little bit of a buffalo scuffle there. Nothing too serious though. Magic Dragon Wizard. Nice call, saying maybe a gremlin came up and pinched one of those buffalo on the bum. That could very much well be the case. Can't actually go to investigate because they have blocked my path and I can't make my way around right now. So yeah, another animal roadblock. Earlier on today, I wasn't live. I was actually driving up around the escarpment. I had the best roadblock of my life in the form of a chameleon. So it was just, yeah, so cool to have a personal experience with a chameleon, especially seeing that I've never seen one before, especially here in the Mara as well. Be more expected to see them in Juma. Now, Sinak is asking... What did you ask, Sinak? You wanted to know why the buffalo was sniffing at the air. Well, buffalo you tend to rely on their sense of smell and their sense of hearing. So I'm not exactly sure what it was smelling for, but it must have been trying to detect something that was in the air. I love that buffalo stare. It's always kind of like you got a problem, man? You got a problem with me? What are you looking at? What are you looking at? They are sassy, Emma. They are very sassy animals. The sass queens and kings, if I had to say so myself. All right, well, obviously it can't proceed any further forward right now, so I will make my way back around. Debbie's wondering whether buffaloes and Alice could get nervous from the smell of smoke. Well, potentially, but I mean, animals out here are used to fire. In areas where there are fires, I don't know what's going on here. Animals are used to smelling fires, so I definitely think they would detect the smell of smoke and would be worried if it was close by, but I don't think it would be enough to startle them the way that they were startled before. But yeah, I think it would definitely be something that they pick up on and something that does make them wary. Well, this is a real tricky bit to get out of. I do apologise, everybody. Bear with me. I might just chuck it into low range here. Get this done quick. So yeah, I am gonna move back around to my original path. I just came over here to check out this herd of buffalo, and seeing as I had such a nice alley sighting here the other night, I just wanted to reminisce a little bit. And now heading sort of back up towards Owino territory, and I'm going to have a quick scan for them, but I'm not going to spend too long there just because I can't traverse too much of the territory today. And then I'm going to head the opposite way down the river. I usually head kind of, what direction would that, more easterly along the river, sort of northeasterly, but today I'm going to move the other way and see what I can find, because I don't think I've actually gone down there since last time I was here a few months ago, and I've been going around the same spots a lot lately, so just keep things fresh, mix it up a little bit, and yeah, just go for a bit of a bumble. Take the edge off last night's event. Just show a bit of the variety that we so dearly love to have here in the Mara. It's an extremely biodiverse place. Biodiversity simply meaning a lot of different animals and plants and living things. Bio, if you ever hear bio, you can generally associate it with living things, because so if we take biology, for example, bio, living, ology. Ology means the study of something, and so biology, the study of living things. And so biodiversity, the diversity of living things. All of my earlier years of biology coming back to me when I was but a country boy with stars in my eyes and a dream in my heart. All right. Back to the task at hand. Animals. Animals. Let's find some animals. So there is no animals here. I'm just going to make my way, as I said, around. And I'm just trying to think where the best way are going to, how I'm going to tackle this route. Well, I figured that out though. Let's go back down to South Africa, where the hunt for animals is also going on down there.
Hi, well, we're still on these, we've lost these tracks in a big block to the the south of us. So we're going to carry on circling this area and see what we can find. Pat, have a relaxing afternoon after yesterday's bit of trauma up in the Mara. So we're going to just carry on and go up towards a dam to the west of us and see what's around that water. Mrs. Lapwing asking me if I'm a birder. Yes, I've always enjoyed birds. I spent a lot more time with birding when I was sort of more home-based and living out of a city. But yeah, I've always enjoyed birding, and I used to do a lot of it. And I did quite a lot of work with the Vulture study group, and got to really enjoy the raptors and vultures. And at one stage was a bit of a twitcher, but don't have enough time now really to do too much twitching and moving all over the place for some of the small stuff, but really enjoy birding, yeah. What attracted me to vultures? A friend of mine was working with the EWT, which stands for the Endangered Wildlife Trust, and and he invited me along and to do some work with the group. And it grew from there, and I started traveling around and getting to know more and more and doing more work with vultures, spending some time with some scientists who really understand and know these birds. And such an underrated bird and such an important bird in our ecosystem. And the variety of the vultures, the coloration, the sizes, their niche, the aspects of their niche behavior around carrion or carcass. So I became fascinated with vultures, and I still am. And sadly, their numbers are diminishing, and and it's because of largely because of poisoning of these birds, and for two reasons. Although the first is that they are poisoned for muti in some areas, and the other is that they become victims of some farmers who bait some of the cats because they classified as vermin, because they attack their sheep or cattle. And sadly, the vultures get onto this bait and eat some of it as well, and they are also affected. So it's sad, very sad from that point of view. Although the EWT have done a lot of work on educating the farmers about poisoning and the consequences. So yeah, it's sad nevertheless that we're affecting these birds as we are. But yeah. Rashni, which species of vulture is my favorite? I like them all, but I think my favorite, the one that I spent probably most of my time with years ago, was the Cape vulture. And so that's probably my favorite, but I think the prettiest vulture, I think, is the white-headed vulture, and it's probably the most endangered of our vultures. But they're all pretty fantastic birds. Also interesting, the Cape and our white-backed, which are similar in looks, are the two vultures that fly at the highest altitude. Up to 33,000 feet they've been seen flying, so phenomenal in the air. And yeah, so I would say the Cape vulture is probably my favorite. We're going to pass you to Trish, who's apparently picked up some elephants down in our west. So we're going to pass you over to Trish and come back to us when we've found something around this water.
And there was no action, and then we made our way straight here to Chitwa Chitwa, and that's where we are now with this adorable baby. Look at the both of them. I especially love how little baby elephants have their big ears kind of look like shaggy, like a hairstyle around them almost. It's against them. It's just the cutest. Hello? Still trying to get used to that trunk. Now, both of these look like they're under a year old. I think they both fit under Mummy's tummy at the moment. It's quite a nice big herd. They've been much bigger, but this is a nice size. And you can see what they're doing. They're eating bits, but you can also see that some of them are dragging with their legs to kick up sand. So I wonder, I don't think they've just come out of the water, because they're not, yeah, they're not wet. Oh no, there I see a bit of wetness. Do I? No, my eyes are deceiving me. It's a bit of grass. So hopefully if we stick around, they will... Oh, you're a little bit wet, aren't you? Oh, yes, you are. So they must have had a quick drink down here at Chitwa, and now they're just dust bathing a little bit. Oh. Oh, you touched that log. It looks like a vacuum cleaner. It's stunning the way they use their trunks when they're little. Emma said the same thing to me. It really is. It's so baby-like. Oh, tail is still held out slightly stiffly. I've always noticed with little ones, even if they're not particularly stressed or excited, the tail seems to be rigid. Oh, it is absolutely cute. I think you all think the same as well. So cute, and they're having a nice meal while they're at it. Now, I like when they come up onto this damn wall, so hopefully they will. Oh, can you see the one leaning on the one leg, crossing the leg? Just a little bit further down. Oh, look at him. I often see this. They'll balance on one leg or one side of their body, then they'll balance on the other. I wonder if it's their way of resting. Oh, is there some tussling going on? No, you're just freaking out on your own. Oh, wow, it seems that Jimmy has found himself a spotted cat. How lucky is that? So why don't we go right over to him to say, hello, spotted cat.
Fine, fine. Well, folks, we've come up to check Buffelshoek Dam, and what have we found? A little leopard was drinking when we got here, and she's now rolling in some what could be some dung, and we can't get a close enough view yet, but we think it's Hlalamba, who is a adult female, and this could be quite interesting to watch. She was drinking the other side of the pan, and she's moved towards us, so she might get a little bit closer to us. Let's just watch her for a while, because she's certainly disguising scent there, or smelt another leopard, or let's just see what she's going to do. Beautiful, eh? There's really nice light on her now. This last light. How's that, Davy?
Yeah.
Good. Are you full in there?
Just about.
See that white tip on the tail sticking out? It's like a sore thumb when she flicks. And that tail is often used as a following mechanism by its cubs, or male and female, male following a female. And interestingly, it's also used if a leopard is stalking and lies low, and squirrel or birds give off a slight alarm call, the leopard will actually flick that tail to almost say to those species that, I know you're there, I've seen you, you've seen me, just calm down. And it's a very interesting behavior of these cats. Thank you, Paula. Yeah, we were pretty lucky just bumping her at the dam here. This apparently is one of her favorite sort of areas. And she's just scanning across the water, seeing if anything else is going to... There's some impala to her west, up on the ridge. Now, she's a bit exposed to be able to surprise them. There they are. They look pretty relaxed, so they haven't seen this leopard yet. Special light, eh? Look at that. Nice side-lit shots there. See the big male. They definitely haven't seen this leopard because they would have alarmed by now. There's the one male's looking right at her, but I don't think he's seen her. Oh, that light on her now is spectacular. See, she's not moving because she's seen them. Well, for now, we're going to pass you back to Trishala with some elephant. And we're going to stand by with this female to see what she does, and maybe she'll come approach us a bit closer. So just passing you to Trish.
It is stunning at the moment. It feels so soft. It even feels good. It doesn't just look good. Now we have our friends. They're having the time of their lives right here. I was just saying to Seb, I can't imagine that out of the whole bush and all this expanse we have, that this little bare patch is where they're having the most fun. But it seems like they are. And who am I to judge them? Look at that twisting around of that trunk, all those muscles and those finger-like protrusions doing their work to pull that vegetation up. Very, very cool. Just stunning. It's always a lovely sight to have elephants. I particularly like them. And I've always had really great sightings with them. And they've never been less than entertaining for me. Oh. And some scratchings of ears. So cute. Ellie, fantastic. How nice to have a comment from you right now when we're looking at the elephants. It is great light in Juma, you say? It absolutely is. And it feels wonderful. It does. There might be a slight chill, but it really feels lovely. Oh, no, look at them. They're all going to cross. There is another vehicle in the sighting, so that's what you'll see soon. Just excuse that. Of course, everyone wants to get the best out of this sighting. Lovely view. Oh, look how she turned and looked at him. Hello. You see how she pulled her head up high, and she gives them a look, and she looks, she flaps her ears, she makes herself known that she is big and strong. Yes, you stuff your mouth before you go off. Yes, you do. Stuff it up. Very cute. Well, they have gone off, so I might do the same. Maybe have a look at the hippos before I go off. In the meantime, let me send you over to Pat with my favorite.
Something very cute indeed. We have come across this little cutie along with it. Oh, don't be scared. We're not here to hurt you. It's okay, you can come out. So, this is a den that we believe belongs to the Olololo clan of hyenas. And right now I can see one cub. Well, I could see one cub poking its head out there, but then we have another one suckling on a very fat mum indeed. Oh no, wait, maybe it's the one behind it that's the fatty. But one of them has a huge stomach. It must have gorged itself on something, either that or it's pregnant. But it does, just from the shape of it, it seems like it's a food baby, not an actual baby. It's yeah, very nice little scene to stumble across. I am As I said, just kind of on the outskirts of Owino territory where I said I was going to look. It is a big nose on that hyena, isn't it? It's got quite the snout. Reminds me very much of a dog, although they are closer to the Herpestidae, which is your mongooses and those sorts of animals, rather than the Canidae or the Caniformes, which are the more dog-like or the dog-being species. Yes, a lot of their actions bear a resemblance to dogs, I find, but their social structure actually more like that of a baboon, highly complex, very social, and very cool also to observe. I have to be honest, I haven't spent a whole lot of time with the hyenas out here in the Mara. In Juma, I spent a lot of time with the Juma clan. Crystal never gets tired of these faces, neither do I. They are just so adorable. Even the older ones, when they give you that kind of head bowed, eyes up, almost puppy dog look, it is very sweet. But can't get much cuter than a young hyena cub with their bald faces and black bodies, almost resembling a little bear rather than resembling a hyena. This one here that is suckling, you can see it is starting to develop its spots there. So it's moving past that stage of having just a straight black coat. We can see those dots starting to develop. It's almost like streaks at the moment though. That's very sweet, very cute to watch. Nothing like cubs in the afternoon. After yesterday's events, it's nice to see some healthy, alive cubs. Well, Jimmy has been very successful on his first couple of drives, finding leopards left, right and centre. Let's go see who he's got.
My apologies from earlier. This is definitely tündi, and she's moved up away from the dam, and we're just going to slowly follow her. She seems to be sniffing something, whether there's another female in the area. Don't know if you can see her yet there. We're going to stop just here and see which way she goes. How's that, Davy? Here we go. See that white tip again. Is that why she was drooling? I couldn't see that from that distance, but more than likely, if she picks up a scent, she could well drool slightly. Now she's interesting. Look how she's disappearing into this. Looks like a small tambuti grove. And look how those spots disappear there. I'm going to have to roll forward to stay with her, otherwise we're going to lose her in this stuff. Ellie, is this my first time seeing tündi? No, I have seen tündi a few times, but further south. So it's my first time in this area seeing tündi. Where is she going now? Let's see. You see her, Davy?
I don't.
No. Do you think... Should we try and go around maybe and see? I'm going to try and get around here. This is too thick to really get through, especially with this roof above us. Yeah, we're going to try and head around and see if we can get another view of her. and pass you to Trish, who has some hippos in one of the dams.
Ah, the struggles of the roof. We are so familiar with the struggles of the roof, which is why we decided to take ours off. Take a chance and take our roof off. So you always get a better view. Oh! Well, the hippos are actually doing something. They're playing around today, which is always nice to see. Like we have talked about the spectacular light, and it really does look lovely. Now, last night we were lucky enough to take a drive in the evening and we saw some hippos out of the water. Now, that was really, really nice because I don't often get to see the hippo fully out of the water and you actually see the magnitude of their size. Often when you see them like this, you can't conceptualize how huge they are. They are massive. They really, really are. And they look very awkward on their 4 stumpy legs. Very cool. So there's some youngsters playing around there. And when you look at their faces, you don't even have to know that they're small. You don't have to see their body to know that they're babies. You just have to look at their little faces. It looks like we're getting a visitor. Yes, we are. It's another Ellie coming down to drink. Francis, I love it. It's a hippopotamus, you say. It really is a hippopotamus. Last night was quite a hippopotamus as well. Now, let me just move aside here. Sorry, guys, to have somebody move past. I'm sure. Do you think he can move past it? Okay. We don't want to miss this, though. I always find the swagger that's involved with the walk that comes down to drink is really, really special. There's a different walk that elephants have. Oh, look at that. Employing the trunk. And yes, there is a sneaky crocodile over there. We were going to chat about him as well. Oh, Ellie, don't step on the croc. I love seeing animals that are very different close to each other and just you expect crazy things to happen. Of course, there's potential for crazy things to happen, but you always see them together and you think, oh no, is the croc going to attack? Is the elephant going to attack? But often you'll find that they sort of just ignore each other. Here we have a big boy. That is a nice, big, big crocodile. Now look at the size of his scales. If you can imagine, skin has been modified over time for enormously, and evolution has acted upon it many, many, many times. From fish scales, that's basically modified skin. You have the dermis what's the word I'm looking for? Epidermis, that's it. And those things form those scales, and those scales become the fish scales become the scales we see on reptiles, and it's really amazing. When you think of an elephant's skin, since we're talking skin, it's all wrinkly to increase surface area. It also traps moisture between that for better cooling and to last longer. But this guy, you can see he's really, really well armored. And what that is basically same skin you and I have on our hands and the rest of our body. That picks up and bends and sort of creates a little protrusion from each bit of skin, a little bit of a bend. And before you know it, it's been ossified. That means a little bits of bone have been contributing now to this lump of skin that's been pushed out. And then you get these really hard, huge scales that are really good protection for the crocodile. It allows him to be able to sit like that. Otherwise, if he didn't have that protection from the sun, the heat, the desiccation, he wouldn't be able to sit out there. He'd have to be in the water all the time. And that is really a great step for animals that moved from being fish, amphibians, and then reptiles. That contributed to it totally. Really did it. Allowed them to be out onto the land and then give rise to a whole lot else. What a beautiful scene. So we're going to end off our time here at Chitwa with this wonderful Ellie drinking away. In the meantime, I'll send you over to Patrick, the lucky boy with those hyena cubs.
Well, oh no, I just thought the cubs had given us the slip and gone into their den, but there it is there. Ah, very nice. I thought we'd lost them for good, so good to still have them out and about. But that big, large one I was talking about, which has disappeared as well behind the bush, as they all seem to want to be doing right now. We do think it was actually pregnant with that big barreling belly after having a closer look at it. So hopefully there will be a few more little cubbies joining this den. Linda was wondering at the same thing. Well, great minds think alike, don't they, Linda? This one is thinking, where is Mum going now? Wandering off in the grass. I wonder if he or she will stay out. I was actually reading a bit about the birth process of the hyenas, the spotted hyena, crowcutter, and it seems quite painful that they have to give birth through that pseudopenis, often only just over an inch wide, and they have to squeeze out a 2-pound hyena, a 1 kilo hyena from that, and so often causes tears, which means a lot of first-time mothers actually don't make it through the pregnancy stage, not contest, the pregnancy stage. So it's a bit of a gruesome thing to think about. But another thing I also found out was the dominant females will actually give a higher level of androgen to their cubs, or at least one of their cubs, which will make them instantly, straight from birth, more aggressive. So androgen is something that's found in high amounts in a lot of males that does act sort of like testosterone and does raise that sort of aggression as well. And so some hyena cubs, those of higher ranking females, will actually get a big boost of this from their mother before they give birth, which makes them more savage, so to speak, when they come out of the womb, and therefore a lot easier, or can compete a lot easier and take what is theirs a lot easier. With hyenas, sometimes it is all about size and aggression, and the females are the ones that get on that side. Nikki, they are quite fluffy. Was it Lauren? Someone was saying to me the other day that they think that the hyenas in the Mara actually look a bit dirtier and a bit shaggier than the ones down in Juma, but these ones do look exceptionally fluffy, especially this one here, who I think is a bit curious as to who we are right now, and is probably thinking these sounds are a little bit strange. These ones, just from my approach to them and seeing how they reacted to a vehicle, I don't think have been too much around other vehicles, because they were just a little bit skittish and a little bit on edge with our presence. And I have seen cubs in the past become so curious that they in fact come up to the car and will sometimes even try and have a little nip and a little sniff around here and there. So it's just watching the behaviour of this one. It seems to be a little bit different than other hyenas that I have approached, especially the ones down in Juma. They are very, very comfortable with our presence. And it's just sticking its head out there, but I think I'm going to move off in a second once we get a nice little last look at this cute fluff ball here. He's not going to come out. He's a little bit shy. It's all right. I'll leave you there rest now, little fella. Everyone's had a nice look at you and everyone says you're looking great. Keep on keeping on. You do you. Goodbye. So, still where I was before when I was with the hyenas, when I said where I was. So just making my way kind of through this area to the river. So I'm just kind of cutting it across. If we imagine the Owino territory coming up, we're just cutting it in and across. Whoop. How embarrassing. I'm just trying to locate the tracks back out of here. The one I am currently, that is in front of me, is a game path. So to reduce the tracks I'm making, I shall locate these other ones. And Jimmy has already located Tündi and wants to give you all an update on our girl.
We've left Tündi moving into that drainage line, and we've come all the way around because there's very little chance of us getting through that. And we think she's trying to tie up with her daughter. So we've come right around to the northern side, and we're just standing by her to see if we can hear any alarm calls or if a chance of her popping out, which is unlikely where we are, but we might get an alarm call or two. She definitely was scenting, so she's more than likely looking for her daughter. So it might be worth just standing by her for a little while and seeing what inspires us from here. There was a Franklin calling a little bit earlier in that drainage line. Wendy, is it a question? Is it easy to track leopards? No, I wouldn't say it's easy. I think the longer you spend doing it, the better one gets. And the terrain they tend to prefer in this area is relatively thick, which doesn't make the job any easier. But there are a lot of telltale signs that of where leopards are, and that we use alarm calls a lot. Obviously, the tracks itself, and then often drag marks if they've been successful by killing something. The drag marks are quite obvious, especially if they cross a road, and then you can track the drag mark to where the prey is, where the kill is. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's easy, but the longer one spends on doing it, the better one gets. And definitely tracking shy leopards is very difficult. So they make our lives a bit easier when they're more relaxed. Now her daughter seems to be more relaxed than she is by the looks of it. So yeah, it depends very much on how habituated these leopards are. And that certainly helps our job in finding them. Comment on to be able to see Tündi and Salamba together. I would love to see that. With a bit of luck, we might be lucky, so we're going to sit it out a little longer, and that would be really nice to be able to see. Well, we're going to stand by a little bit longer and pass you over to Trishala, who's going up onto a ridge and driving into the sunset. So we're going to pass you over to Trishala.
Sunset. And it looks a bit like I'm driving into paradise, doesn't it? Look at it. Or like into the sun almost. It's stunning. I haven't got a brown tinge in my hair, you know? I can flick that around. I think it's very stunning. So 3 guesses where I'm off to. I'll give you 10 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to get you as soon, so you got to answer quickly. Hyena den, well done, well done. You said hyena den, well done. I am. Oh, sorry, I have to wait for the delay apparently. But I knew you all knew it. As soon as I said, where am I going? You guys knew it. It's that time of the day. The hyena den looks particularly beautiful with the sun setting behind it. And that is what I am after. Well, we're almost here. So before we get into the hyena den, we saw elephants earlier and we saw them feeding. So I've read some interesting things on elephants feeding. And that is that they can choose, or they choose what they want to eat and what they don't want to eat before they actually eat it and before they have an experience eating it. So what they do is their sense of smell is so ridiculously good that they can smell plants that they want to eat and plants that they don't want to eat. And it seems that something called terpenoids is what's responsible for that. And what terpenoids are is basically scent, sort of a scent molecule. It's the things you'd find in essential oils and other such stuff. So it's things that give plants a strong scent. And that's what elephants can actually smell before they even decide to eat it. Which then brings us to our scientist for today. Oh, let's have a quick look around here first. I see somebody. We are going to speak a little bit about Otto Welch. And I see a little cubby too. So Otto Welch was born on this day in 1947, and he was a German chemist. And why was he important? Because he was the person who discovered terpenoids. Before that, they were absolutely not discovered. He actually won the Nobel Prize for it in 1910, which is really a feat. And so it's a scientist's dream to be able to be honored in that way with a Nobel Prize. So there we go, something interesting. And then to read about the elephants that have been using that exact molecule to be able to differentiate between the plants that they can eat. I think it's very, very interesting. Now, I did see a cubby. Okay. Hey, Judy girl. Let me just get into a better position. I love how she turns to look at me. Oh, there, we see them up there. Okay. There we go. So we are at Juma Clan Den. Ooh, Alice, what a question. Ooh, tough one, but I would say... Where are you two coming from? I have two scamps that have just run across the car. June's two cubs. So, Alice, you'd like to know who I'd like to spend an hour with? The hyena cubs or little hookadulus? It's a tough choice, I must say. Obviously, there's the pull for the hookadulus because I've only seen the one. And from us here at Safari Live, I think I'm the only one who's seen it so far. So there's definitely that pull. It's a bit exotic, I haven't seen it at all yet, or very little. But when it comes to entertainment and value for your time, hyena cubs are on top. So I choose hyena cubs. I do. Oh, this is wonderful. So we've got Jude and her two cubs that have just scampered along. They're the ones with the spots on them now. Coming on their jello. And then we've also got Ribbon nursing her two little black balls of fur up there. Now, did you see that when this cub opened the mouth, you could actually see the canines and incisors that have come up? And obviously they're born with these teeth and they're born with their mouths and with their eyes open. So that must be quite a struggle for mum on those teeth. I can only imagine how painful it must be. So these teeth will actually fall out. These are not the permanent teeth that they'll get. And in about 15 months, their adult set will start to come in. But it actually takes a really long time for the teeth to develop properly and for the jaws and the really enormous and strong head to develop correctly. So some hyenas can even be reliant on mum for kills up to 2 years or 2.5 years. So that's a long time to be able to develop into a really bone-crushing machine, actually. And what's interesting about the dentition of hyenas is that they have flattened sort of molars in front of their canines. So what that does, it means that they can crush their bones in the front bit of their mouth without making their canines blunt. If it was the other way around and the canines were in front, like they are in our mouths, canines in front of the molars, in order to get the bone to the back and then actually chew on it and crush the bone, it would make your incisors blunt. So they've adapted in a way that makes the the molars forward, brings the molars forward in order to have that crushing ability. So all those important things, those really nitty-gritty things have to develop in from this little ball of fur into a beastly hyena like old ribbon here. You're asleep, girl. Motherhood is really taking it out of you. Chris, absolutely, hyenas are very, very tough. I'd say probably, in my opinion, the toughest in the animal kingdom. They're unbelievable, and they always they've had a bad reputation for a long time. And I think it's out of fear a lot of the time also. So much power. Wendy, you'd like to know how many females will share a den with cubs? Well, it depends on a lot of things. For one, it depends on the clan size. So if they are clan members and they're all female and they all have cubs at the same time, there really wouldn't be an issue with them all staying in the same den, as long as the hierarchy is followed to the T and there's no fighting and other sorts of disagreements going on. But then also remember that lots of the times they won't do that. Females with cubs, they'll come together in 1, 2, maybe 3 of them with their cubs. But huge masses, even if the termite mound is huge and the den is big, huge masses, they tend not to come together because that means extra competition for their cubs when it comes time for them to be weaned and they're now eating meat and things like that. And now they've got to compete with the other cubs, the other females' cubs at the den, and that's really unnecessary competition. They're usually weaned by about 16 months, fully weaned, but they will start to eat meat before that. I think they'll even accompany mum to carcasses around 9 months even. Penguin on safari, a really interesting question, and you're being very observant as well. Why don't hyena cubs have fur around their face? Well, apparently they very much do. It's just that when we see them here and we see them come out, what we are actually witnessing is the effect of pests or anything else that's been making them rub themselves against the walls of the inside of the den, or even when they're fighting amongst themselves, when they're small. The snout is really the area that they go for. And you'll find that hyenas often rub little bits of their faces against things, and that actually prevents the hair from growing well there. But not all hyena cubs are like that. Remember, Plonk had a huge patch. These ones have a smaller patch, and I suppose if there were no pests and nothing to rub their faces against, they wouldn't have any patch, really. So really interesting causes and effects there. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if, because of the way they behave when they're young and rubbing their faces against things, that if the hair in that area grows shorter to begin with. Lots of mechanisms at play. Oh, do you like that word, Ribbon? She says, I don't understand you. It seems that the sun has set in Kenya, or is definitely setting, and Patrick is driving around a little off color.
Yes, black and white, or infrared to be more specific. A light that allows us to see without actually having to shine any bright lights. But I just thought I would stop as we check out this blaze that's really starting to spread. Of course, it is a controlled burn, but it is starting to spread. It just started off as a tiny little patch of fire and is now spread along at the escarpment there. And that is starting to really pick up a bit of pace and just widen and widen its perimeter as time goes on. But it was just quite it was just quite a very nice sight to come across with the smoke and the sunset and the escarpment, and yeah, just thought I would stop and let you all take it in for a little bit. Quite, I don't know, it's not confronting. Confronting isn't the right word for it, but just to see a fire from such a distance and be able to distinguish the flames and the patterns of it. You know, we light fires every night well, not every night, but a lot of nights in camp. We like to have a little fire in the fireplace as we all chill out towards the end of the night. So we obviously see them a little bit up close in very small scale, but on such a large scale, to be able to see it from so far away is it's quite something. Especially because it's up on the escarpment as well. Often when we see fires, you'll just see the smoke and not really the flames, but the position this one is in right now. It's it's just a cool little scene. I thought I'd stop and share with you all. David, yes, it is the Ring of Fire. Johnny Cash. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 but the flames went higher, and it burned, 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 the ring of fire. Righty-o. So, obviously stopped off at that hyena den there. Paul, it would be very awesome in the flea. Good pick up there. We obviously don't have that out here in the Maasai Mara, but we do down in Juma. It would be very cool to see the heat signatures coming off that thing. So for anyone who isn't aware, the FLIR, spelled F-L-I-R, is a piece of technology that we have down in Juma that allows us to see the heat signatures and of what we are seeing. So say if there's a cold animal on a warm background, it's going to stick out like a broken thumb because it will come up a different colour than its environment or its surrounding environment. And so it's it's quite a useful tool and a very cool thing to play around with. And I'm sure it would have looked very epic if we had pointed it at that fire. Well, it's looking pretty quiet around here. I was expecting a lot more life. I'm glad everybody was enjoying that little fire. It was a very, very cool sight. Thought I would show you all. Sorry, I'm just untangling my flashlight here because it's getting to that time where we are in low light and it is a little bit easier to see. Actually, no, the flashlight still isn't doing a whole heap in aiding what I am seeing. So I'll give it a rest for now. Rest these shoulders up for when they are needed. You can get quite cumbersome holding that thing up in the air. Ooh, it's started to get a little bit chilly. A little bit of a breeze. Emma's telling me I have to do the Jamie Patterson hold of the flashlight. So for anyone who doesn't know the famous Jamie Patterson hold, this is essentially how it goes. straight up in the air. I mean, she probably gets good reach and good range. I am short for a man, Emma, but it would work better if you are short like a female. Sexual dimorphism, it isn't just in other animals, it is in humans as well. Unfortunately, I got the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to height in males. But it means I'm sneaky. Not really. Animals, where are you tonight? Maybe they have been scared off a bit by the blaze, but we are a good distance from it. I can't really see why there would be any immediate danger in the area I am in right now. And I did also think that this road went more along the river. As I said, I was kind of exploring a new area of the road. The other end of this road goes right. It pretty much hugs the river. But coming down this side, it's kind of coming in a little bit off. Oh, I suppose now looking out as well. So the river is coming out in this direction, which is probably why I'm not seeing as much as I did expect. But not to worry, I'm sure in time we will come across something. This is the Maasai Mara after all. Anyway, this is the Maasai Mara, but there is also Juma. And let's go down where Jimmy is and see what's going on.
Folks, we've left that area of Tündi. The light is going quite quickly now, and she's in that big thick block, but we're going to head back into the area of Tingana and just have a look to see if we have some luck. There is a vehicle with him, so we'll go and try and get in there and see what we can come up with him. With a bit of luck, he might go and drink. I don't know whether he's had a drink while we've been away, but with a bit of luck. Sorry, I didn't quite get that question. Greg is asking, where are all the guinea fowl? I'm actually not sure. I haven't heard one since I've been here in the last few days. Heard a lot of francolin, but not too many guinea fowl. He's in that thicket there. We were just speaking about that, and the way she was behaving around that dam is that she possibly is in estrus, because she was behaving as if she was scenting and looking for a male. So she might be in estrus again, but it'll be interesting to see down the line. While we get into this position, we're just going to send you back to Trishana with the hyena.
Oh, how spoilt, Jimmy. You get to leave Tündi to go over to Tingana. Aren't we just utterly spoilt here? And then between that, we'll just stop over at this cuteness show. So these cubs are about 3 months old. June was seen lactating. Of course, it's really hard to determine the exact day of a birth. There's another guy up there. There we go. But these cubs, we're going to assume, were born in Jan of this year. So they're about 3 months old. Going on 3 months, because in Jan this year, June was seen with suckle marks. So that's our indication that they at least were born in January. Maybe earlier. Oh, there we go, you can see. Making good use their teeth. Oh, too cute. They are like little babies. I could take them home so easily. Miss Sano? Is that it? I couldn't hear very well, but you said that's June's little trouble. It certainly is June's little trouble, and half of the time June's face says, oh my gosh, so much trouble. I don't know why I decided to do this mum thing. Hello? You coming to say hello? Did you miss me too? Because I missed you a whole lot. Oh, please bring me a present. Are you going to? No, Emma thought he was going to bring me a present too, but then hopes were dashed. Very cute. Let's see if there's any... Oh, you guys, they're starting to move behind the vehicle now, which is making it very awkward for me. And... Oh, you guys are loving this moment. It really is a stunning moment. They're starting to become so curious and moving so much further out of the den. A lot like Plonk. You know how Plonk used to go around gallivanting on his own for hours? And then he'd come back to the den. He used to often leave with one of Pretty's cubs. And they used to go off and have some fun. Are you making a noise, little one? I heard a small noise coming out of you. Now look at the way they're investigating those reeds. Now he's actually investigating those bits. Yes, just as I suspected. He's investigating those bits of reed or bits of grass because the smell of other hyenas would have been on that grass as well. So he's smelling it and then he anal pasted over it, or well, false anal pasting. They'll only truly anal paste around 2.5 or 3. But he's kind of done that to inoculate his glands with all the bacteria that's found in the glands of the other adult hyenas that he needs to, or she needs to inoculate themselves with. Luna, you'd like to know how old June is? June was born in May or June, somewhere between there of 2015. Oh, scurry off. Who's coming? Someone has to be coming. That always happens when an adult comes along. Yes, so June would be about 4 years old in May, June time. Man, didn't get a good look at you. Oh, scurry away. Well, it seems like Tingana is doing some really exciting things, so let me send you straight over to Jimmy.
Guys, we've just followed Tingana. He's been dragging the remains of his young kudu into this tambuti thicket. And he's brought it to a base of a tambuti tree, and he's certainly looking up into the tree, so with a bit of luck he's going to hoist very shortly. There we go. He's lifting it. He might go around the other side because of the slope of the tree. Watch this. Here we go. Get ready. Wow, look at that power, guys. Sorry, why are leopards such good climbers? It's a great question. They've adapted and evolved to climb mainly to keep out of danger from their biggest threat, hyena and lion, which would certainly try and rob them of their kill. So that's why they've evolved to be able to climb so well. And they're such powerful climbers that they can carry over their own body weight up into a tree. I'm just going to move forward to see if we can get, or try and turn to see if we can get a better view. How's it, Greggy? How are you, boy? How's it? You well? All right. Yeah, good, thank you.
Good to see a bit of experience out here in the bush.
Go for it, Greggy. Try and get forward. Did you see him go up?
I saw him going up there. Which...
I'm going to move back if you go around here a bit, and then I'll poke in here. Okay. So we're just letting another vehicle in because this is quite a special little moment, and then we'll go around to another side to see if we can get another view of him. Then this kudu was killed basically 2 days ago. So he's had it for 2 days. So there's not a lot left, but certainly enough to protect from lion or hyena. It's pretty dark in there, guys. I don't know if we're going to get much more view. No, I think we're gonna leave him because it's a bit too dark, and the light is really going now. Whoopsie. We're going to leave this leopard for now because the light in there it's very dark in there, and we're going to send you back to Trish.
It is very dark here. That's why we've moved over into infrared, and that's why we're in a bit of a grey scale there with a bit of a green tinge. I always find that odd, but that's what we're in now. So they're completely unperturbed by our lights or anything like that because we have none on them. So that's why our IR is a really, really cool tool to be able to observe wildlife in the dark. Now these two scamps have been running all over the place, and then a male came along, and I'm not sure who it was, but I think it might have been Fika. I didn't get a good look, but it was really brown. You know, sometimes you can see the differences in color. Like I find that June is quite faded, and this guy that I saw just now was really, really brown. So I thought it was Fika at first, but I really didn't look at the spot pattern to be able to know for sure. Yes, come down and say hello. Now this one sits very nicely. He sits a bit like a yogi, cross-legged a bit. Sometimes he does. Do it for us. He was doing it just before. It was like a hyena Buddha. Sat cross-legged, big round tummy. You know how puppies have these big tummies. Plopped right on his lap, and both paws on either side. So he really looked like a Buddha. Very cute. Ooh, I'd love to, Emma. Emma says I should rub his belly for good luck. Can't I just take it home instead and rub it every day? I would love that.
You'll get lots of fleas.
Seb says I'll get lots of fleas, along with a whole lot of other things, I think. Tell you what, nobody would come in my yard. Oh, how was that? Couldn't barely sit down. He almost had to drag himself down. Or herself down. I haven't actually figured out the genders of these cubs. I'm still trying to figure out ways to actually ID them. Now, I know that one is definitely smaller than the other. One has the one that's closest to us now is smaller than the other one, and also the spots on the one that's on the far side are much darker than the one closest to us. And in terms of dominance, it's still a bit hard to tell. The older one obviously is bigger, and we all know that could have been bigger just from the fact that it's more dominant and would be feeding more often and have a better feed off mum, and that the smaller one is obviously in a deficit just slightly, which is why it's a smaller size. But when you see them interact, the small one is really, really feisty, and it could be that the smaller one is dominant. Maybe something's happened along the way, or maybe the genes are just a bit different, so they're not developing at the exact same pace. But like I said, it's hard to tell. Now let's see if they start to suckle, and we can actually see who takes prime position against mum's tummy and who has to stick out the back. Oh yes, you need to say hello. Do you know that's the other cub is near actually Ribbon's teeth there. Harshal, you'd like to know what a hyena cub's success rate is. Well, in terms of percentage, or the way that we think about it, I would say... Where did the cub go? Oh, on the other side. No, but those are June's cub. That one was just trying its luck with Ribbon's teeth there. The success rate of these animals could be as little as 50% in their first year. The first year is a really vulnerable time, and you'll find that 50%, or that ratio, often with predators. You find it with lions, you find it with leopards, because that first year, these animals are really vulnerable. They all work on a similar sort of scenario where if they survive to a year, then the odds of them surviving to adulthood is much, much higher. And they're all exposed to bits of infanticide, especially at this age. If there's a takeover or anything like that, then these guys are the first to go. They're the most vulnerable. So to make it past the first year is the biggest hurdle for most cubs. And that goes for lion cubs, leopard cubs as well. Also remember that for lions and leopards especially, when you do kill the cubs, it brings the mother back into estrus, so she's able to mate again. So now the new male that comes in doesn't need to invest his time and energy into somebody else's cubs, and now he can sire his own cubs and invest his time here. Hyenas, it's a little bit different because it is a matriarchal society, and basically the females call the shots, and there is really no way to reproduce and engage in reproduction if the female doesn't agree to it or doesn't want it to happen. In fact, this pseudo penis that she's got is a urogenital canal. So apart from her copulating with this area of her body, she's also going to urinate through this area of her body. So if at any point she decides, or soon after she mates, she decides that she actually doesn't want this person to be the father or that hyena to be the father, she can quite simply wee through the same canal and wash away sperm, which is amazing, I think, because you can sort of choose fathers if you want. Really, really amazing stuff, these guys. And that's something that I feel is quite unique to hyenas, that ability to have one canal for both those jobs. It seems our other spotted friend is down the tree, and of course I don't mean Jimmy, I mean Tingana.
Well, Tingana has just stashed that kuru in his tambotis, and he's climbed down and he's feeding on some scraps that fell off while he went up the tree. So we're just going to stand by with him a bit and see where he moves to after he's fed on these scraps. Sorry, you can't really see. There we go. Problem with those tambuti trees. It's fine for stashing young kudu. So it's always nice to see Tingana, especially when he's active like this. Sadly, yesterday he was a bit dormant. These tambutis are great for stashing kills, but don't have big enough branches to really, for this size leopard to rest in. He's burying something there. Interesting, it may be some of the intestinal juice which would attract hyena into the area. Nice big boy, huh? Right. No, leopards eat everything from a carcass that they can. The only things they would leave is part of the head and the bigger bones that they wouldn't be able to digest. Like I'm suggesting we go around. I think he might go to the dam, so I'm going to shoot around to the dam and see if we have some luck with him drinking. It's going to take us a minute or two to maneuver around there, so we're going to just pass you back to Pat in the Mara.
Well, I did get reports that the Olololo Pride was still around, sorry, my light there, was around the Olololo Gate this morning. So there was 4 females spotted. Unfortunately, the mother of the cubs, or the suspected mother of the killed cubs, was not seen with them. So what has happened to her after that, I'm not sure, but I just thought I'd come down and have a look around and see if I could pick up on the Olololos. No luck. So now I am back at the site of the carcass. I want to just see if there's not lions here. I don't think there'd be lions here, especially because that carcass was in water, and so we'd be getting pretty rank pretty quickly. But I just wanted to see if there was any scavengers. I saw a couple of black-backed jackals running out of this area. Just bear with me while I find a good spot to take a look down. There's a couple of other cars around, which also made me think that there might still be something lurking about. Oh, there's lions. Nice. Mikey, yes, I think the amount of food would have had somewhat of a factor. There was a bit there, but I think it's more about the fact where it lies, kind of in between territories, which can make conflict even more intense. But it still seems as if this hippo is sustaining these lions, still going at it. Wow. Very cool stuff. And you will see a light being shone. Because of the infrared, it looks like it's a bright light, but it is actually just a dull red light from one of these other vehicles. And the red colour of the light helps to prevent damage to eyes. And they are not shining it directly in any eyes. They're using the wash of the light to illuminate. So no damage is being caused. But it's actually a little bit of an advantage to us because we can see this very well right now. These lions getting into the hippo. I was saying yesterday it must be a lot harder to hit, well, not to hit a hippo, sorry, to eat a hippo than other prey items. They've got such thick skin. We can see there just how much of a struggle it is to break that open and actually get inside there. And their eyes don't actually glow in the dark. That's just the infrared light being reflected off, although they can't pick up on it. Yeah, it just, kind of reflects back a little bit. And so that is why we're seeing that eye glowing. Bree, let's have a look. Yes, so we can see one wound there on the hip of this female. And just on the leg as well. But as for the rest, it's a bit difficult to gauge from here. That might even be a little bit of splash of mud. It's a bit harder to tell with the infrared. Oh no, there does seem, there's broken skin on the one in between the hip and the belly there. I think on the back side of that leg though is just mud, but that does seem to be a wound. And, perhaps the back of this one there. Again, could be either a wound or mud. But all in all, from what I've seen of the two males and the river pride today, there seems to be not many injuries. Something Heart, sorry, I just didn't catch the name there. Something Heart, Fiery Heart, I believe it was. Well, I think the cubs must have, yes, they did get caught up in it. Safari Heart, sorry about that. Safari Heart, yes, so I think the cubs did get caught up in it. If it was in fact the females that did kill the cubs, I think it would have just been because there was aggression between prides, and these cubs were unlucky enough to be on the opposing pride, and therefore, did get attacked. But still, that area of last night is still a little bit hazy and a little bit unknown. But it does seem like that is the most likely case. It wasn't the initial infanticide that I thought it was. It wasn't the reason that I thought it was that my initial thoughts before I pieced it all together was that the two males did it. But given everything that we know now, that we know that is completely not the case. But the river pride's still taking control here and getting themselves a nice feed of hippo still going on that carcass. It's good to get some last minute lions here. Very good indeed. I wish I could have caught up with the Olololos just to see the conditioning they're in and how they're all going after last night's dispute, but I could imagine they would be quite hard to find today, probably a little bit panicked, a little bit skittish, and a little bit shaken up. Well, it seems like down in Juma in South Africa, Jimmy has caught up with Tangana, so let's go from one cat to another. A cool cat.
It's going to be very awkward.
We've come up onto the dam wall, and he's moved closer, but he's lying up. He's probably going to groom himself a bit. And he's lying in a very close to where he had that kudu before, in that thicket. So there's quite nice soft sand there. He's you can see he's preening himself, and he taking it easy, as he does, this guy. He do leopards certainly chew their food, so it's an interesting question. When they here's a hyena coming down the road. This could get interesting. This hyena smelled something. Sorry to cross-cut that question. but this hyena's definitely smelt this kill, and he's moving down into the position of this leopard. So I will certainly come back to that question. Interesting to see the reaction of Tingana now. I don't think he's heard this hyena yet. There we are. He's just heard him. You see his reaction there? Watch here. It'll be interesting to see what he does here, because it's a single hyena, and you'll want to make sure exactly what is it, how many there are and what's happening before he makes his next move. Now there's two options for him here. He's either going to mock charge this hyena to try and scare it. There's the hyena, the eyes of the hyena on the left of this. See now he's moving? So he's either going to move back to where he's closer to a tree to climb into safety, or you'll make sure before he mock charges this hyena to scare him off. There's another vehicle down there following up on him, so we'll just stand by and see, get an update from them as to where he goes. In the meantime, we'll try and keep an eye on this hyena. I think he's going to move closer. There goes the hyena. Definitely following the scent of this kill. That's where he dragged it from. See that? There he goes. And there's the eyes of the leopard. So he's very close to that leopard now. There we are. He just picked. There, you see the eyes of the leopard? There we go. There's the leopard. I think he's going to try and move this hyena away, and in the same time get closer to a tree to climb up if he has to. So folks, that was quite exciting. Bit of action. And just quickly getting back to the question about, do leopards chew their food? They certainly do. They have very well pronounced canines for killing prey, and they have very strong molars and premolars and scissor-like shaped incisors for cutting skin open and then chewing on flesh and even small bones and stuff. So they certainly do chew their food. They don't swallow it whole as such. In the meantime, while we wait for an update, we're going to send you back to Pat with some lions.
Well, no lions like last-minute lions. Very nice way to round out today's drive by watching them feed in a now peaceful area. Well, for now, there's a little bit of tension around this carcass, but there's enough for everyone here at the moment, and that is enough drive for everyone at this moment. Well, can we ever get enough drive? I don't know. Hope to see you all again in the morning, 5:30 East Africa time, or 4:30 East Africa time. We hope that you can all join us for another fun-filled Safari Live AM drive.